I visited my son on his first day at his wife's dad's company and found him cleaning the bathrooms. His wife's dad sneered, "That's all he's good for." My daughter-in-law smiled. My son cried when he saw me. Then I stepped outside and made a call to a number I hadn't dialed in 15 years. But let me back up. The building was one of those glass and steel monsters that screams, "I have more money than God," from 3 blocks away. 60 stories of corporate arrogance piercing the downtown skyline like a middle finger to everyone who ever struggled to pay rent. I'd driven 2 hours to get here, fighting traffic the whole way because my son Jake had specifically told me not to come. "Dad, please, I'll be fine. It's just my first day." When your 24-year-old son begs you to stay away from his new job, you know something's wrong. When he married a woman you'd only met twice, after dating her for 3 months, you know something's really wrong. When he stops returning your calls and his texts get shorter and colder, you know it's time to stop asking permission. So I showed up. The lobby was all marble and intimidation. A receptionist with a face like she'd been sculpted from ice gave me a visitor's badge after I lied and said I had a meeting with facilities management. I'd learned a long time ago that if you walk into a place like you belong there, most people won't question it. I found him on the 3rd floor. The men's room was one of those unnecessarily fancy corporate bathrooms with automatic everything and music piped through hidden speakers. My son was on his knees, scrubbing the grout around a urinal with a toothbrush. He was wearing a janitor's uniform that was 2 sizes too big. His hands were red and raw. He didn't hear me come in. I just stood there, watching my boy. My son, who graduated top of his class, who had 3 job offers before he even finished his degree, scrubbing piss stains from tile with a toothbrush like he was being punished. Jake. He jerked up so fast he cracked his head on the underside of the urinal. When he turned and saw me, his face went through about 6 different emotions in 2 seconds. Surprise, fear, shame, relief, then back to fear. "Dad, what are you can't be here. What the hell is this?" "It's just temporary. They said everyone starts at the bottom here. It's how they do things." I looked at my son. Really looked at him. He'd lost weight. There were dark circles under his eyes. His wedding ring hung loose on his finger. "Everyone? Or just you?" Before he could answer, the bathroom door swung open and in walked Richard Pemberton, my daughter-in-law's father. 60 years old, silver hair, $1,000 suit, and a smile that made my skin crawl. Well, the father-in-law. He said it like it was an insult. "Come to check on your boy's progress?" "I came to see why my son is scrubbing toilets when he was hired as a financial analyst." Pemberton laughed. Actually laughed. "Analyst? Is that what he told you?" No. We brought Jake on board in a more appropriate capacity. Entry-level facilities maintenance. It's all he's qualified for, really." Jake's face went red. He looked at the floor. "That's bullshit," I said. "He has a degree in finance from a state school." "Yes, very impressive." Pemberton examined his fingernails. "Look, Mr. Morrison, let me be frank. My daughter married your son against my better judgment. I told her he was beneath her, but she insisted, so here we are. I gave him a job out of the goodness of my heart. If he doesn't like it, he's welcome to quit." I looked at Jake. He was shaking. "Jake, get up. We're leaving." "He can't," Pemberton said. "Can you, Jake? Tell your father why." My son's voice was barely a whisper. "I signed something." "What?" "A contract. I didn't read it all. Jessica said it was just standard employment stuff, but it says if I quit in the first year, I owe the company $50,000 for training and relocation. That's not enforceable." Pemberton smiled wider. "Feel free to hire a lawyer and find out. Oh, wait, you can't afford one, can you? I know all about you, Morrison. Your little insurance business, your mortgage, your credit cards. You're 3 months from bankruptcy yourself." He'd done research on me. That should have made me angry. Instead, It just made me focus. "Get back to work, Jake," Pemberton said. "These toilets won't clean themselves. And Morrison, security will escort you out. You're no longer welcome on this property." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Jake? Your wife wants you home by 6. She's having some friends over and she needs you to serve drinks." The door closed behind him. Jake looked at me. There were tears running down his face. "Dad, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would be like this," she said. "She said they'd take care of me, that I'd never have to worry. But now I can't leave and I can't—" "Jake, listen to me. Go back to work. Act normal. Don't do anything different. Can you do that?" "What are you going to do?" I put my hand on his shoulder. "I'm going to fix this." "Dad, you can't. They're too powerful. They'll destroy you." "No," I said. "They won't." I walked out of that bathroom, down the marble hallway, past the Ice Queen receptionist, and out into the parking garage. My hands were steady. My heart rate was normal. I wasn't angry anymore. I was something else, something colder. I got in my car and sat there for a minute, just breathing. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd saved 15 years ago under the name Last Resort. It rang 3 times. "Morrison?" The voice was rough, familiar. "Didn't think I'd ever hear from you again. I need a favor, Frank." "I don't do favors." "Then I need to hire you." There was a pause. "Must be bad." "It is. Tell me." So I did. I told him everything. The rushed marriage, the manipulation, the bathroom, the contract, the smirk on Pemberton's face. When I finished, Frank was quiet for a long time. "How far do you want to take this?" he finally asked. "All the way." "No violence. That's still the rule?" "No violence." "Good. Because what I'm thinking, violence would be mercy. When I'm done, Richard Pemberton is going to wish you'd just punched him in the face." "How long?" "Give me 48 hours. I need to make some calls, pull some files. But Morrison, if we start this, you can't walk it back. You understand? Once I set the dominoes, they're going to fall. All of them." I thought about my son on his knees, scrubbing piss with a toothbrush. I thought about the tears on his face. I thought about Pemberton's smile. "Do it. I'll call you in 2 days. Don't contact your son. Don't do anything unusual. Just live your life. Let them think they won." He hung up. I sat in my car for another 5 minutes, watching people come and go from the building. Men in suits, women in heels, all of them part of Pemberton's kingdom. All of them thinking they were untouchable. My phone buzzed. A text from my wife, Linda. "Did you find him?" "Yes." "And?" "It's worse than we thought." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "What are you going to do?" I looked up at the building, at the glass and steel monument to arrogance. "Whatever it takes." I started the car and drove home. 2 hours through traffic. 2 hours to plan, to think, to remember. Frank Novak and I went back 20 years. We'd met when I was still in the Army, when I thought I was going to be career military. Frank was the guy you called when something needed to disappear. Not people, not like that. Information, records, problems. He worked in intelligence officially. Unofficially, he knew how to find the dirt on anyone and how to use it without breaking a single law. When I left the Army and started my insurance business, I'd called him once, just once. A competitor was spreading lies about my company, trying to drive me under. Frank made it stop. I never asked how. The competitor just suddenly got very quiet and very cooperative. Frank had given me his number and said, "Keep this. You never know when you'll need someone who doesn't fight fair." I never thought I'd use it. I was wrong. When I got home, Linda was waiting in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and poured 2 glasses of whiskey. "Tell me." So I did. Linda and I had been married 30 years. We'd built our life from nothing. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We'd earned every dollar. and we'd raised a good son. Frank's handling it, I said. Frank from the army? That's the one. Good. She took a drink. Because I've been doing my own research. Did you know Jessica Pemberton has a trust fund worth $8 million? Did you know she's cheated on every boyfriend she's ever had? Did you know she once tried to get her college roommate expelled by planting drugs in her dorm room? How do you know all that? Linda smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I have friends, I make phone calls. Just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. What else? Richard Pemberton's company is called Pemberton Financial Group. They manage investments for high-net-worth clients. But here's the interesting part. 3 years ago, there were rumors about improper relationships with clients. Nothing illegal, just unseemly. His wife divorced him over it. The rumors went away, but the divorce didn't. So he's vulnerable. Everyone's vulnerable. You just have to know where to push. My phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. Mr. Morrison, this is building security at Pemberton Financial. Your son has been in an accident. He fell down a stairwell. Paramedics are on scene. He's conscious, but he's asking for you. I was already moving toward the door. I'm on my way. Linda grabbed her purse. I'm coming with you. We broke every speed limit getting back to the city. My mind was racing. An accident. On his first day. After I'd confronted Pemberton. This wasn't an accident. We got to the building 40 minutes later. An ambulance was parked outside. Paramedics were loading a stretcher. Jake was on it. His face was bruised. His left arm was in a temporary splint. But he was conscious. Dad, I'm here. What happened? I don't know. I was walking down the stairs and someone bumped into me. I lost my balance. Someone bumped you. It was crowded. People were going home. It was just an accident. The paramedic interrupted. Sir, we need to transport. You can follow us to the hospital. I'm riding with him. The paramedic started to argue, then saw my face and nodded. Linda squeezed my hand. I'll meet you there. In the ambulance, Jake grabbed my arm. Dad, please, don't make this worse. It was an accident. Jake, please, I can handle this. I just need to be smarter, more careful. I looked at my son, at his bruises, at the fear in his eyes. Okay, I lied. Okay. At the hospital, they x-rayed his arm, hairline fracture. They put him in a cast and gave him pain meds. Jessica showed up an hour later, all fake concern and dramatic tears. Oh my God, baby, are you okay? I was so worried. She didn't even look at me or Linda. I'm fine, Jake said, just clumsy. We should get you home. You need rest. I'll drive him, I said. That's not necessary. Jessica's voice went sharp. I'm his wife. I'll take care of him. I'd like my parents to drive me, Jake said quietly. Jessica's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course, whatever you want. She left without saying goodbye. Linda helped Jake into our car. As we drove to his apartment, he stared out the window. It wasn't an accident, he finally said. I know. Someone pushed me. I don't know who, but someone pushed me and then disappeared into the crowd. Jake. I know what you're thinking, Dad. You're thinking you can save me. That you can fix this. But you can't. These people, they're not like us. They have power, money, connections. If you try to fight them, they'll destroy you. They'll destroy all of us. They already destroyed you, I said. The question is whether I'm going to let them get away with it. We pulled up to his apartment building. It was in a nice part of town. Too nice for a kid who'd been out of college for 2 years. Did you sign a lease on this place? I asked. Jessica's dad owns it. He said we could live here for free. Nothing's free, Jake. I know that now. We helped him upstairs. The apartment was huge. Expensive furniture, huge TV, kitchen full of brand-name appliances. All of it paid for by Richard Pemberton. Where's Jessica? Linda asked. I don't know. Out with friends, probably. We got Jake settled on the couch. Linda made him tea. I looked around the apartment at all the expensive things that weren't really Jake's. How often does she go out? I asked. Most nights. And she doesn't tell you where? She says I'm too controlling if I ask. Linda and I exchanged a look. Jake, I said carefully, do you love her? He was quiet for a long time. I thought I did. She was exciting, beautiful. She made me feel like I was special, like I could be someone important. But now, I don't know. It's like she's a different person. Cold, mean. She laughs at me with her friends, calls me her project. Then leave her. I can't. The prenup. Dad, I didn't want to tell you this, but the prenup says if I leave her in the first 5 years, I get nothing. No money, no settlement, nothing. And I'll still owe her father for the job training. That's financial abuse, Jake. That's marriage to a Pemberton. My phone buzzed. A text from Frank. Found some things. We need to talk. Tonight. I showed Jake and Linda the text. Who's Frank? Jake asked. An old friend. Someone who's going to help. Dad, I don't want you to do something illegal. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm just going to make sure the people who hurt you face consequences. What kind of consequences? I thought about it. The kind they'll never forget. As the story unfolds, hit the hype button, like, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive them or walk away? Frank wanted to meet at a diner 40 miles outside the city. Neutral ground, no cameras, no witnesses who mattered. I left Linda with Jake and drove through the night. The diner was one of those 24-hour places that serves burnt coffee and decent pie to truckers and insomniacs. Frank was already there, sitting in a corner booth with his back to the wall. He looked the same. 55 years old, but built like he could still run a marathon. Short gray hair, hard eyes. The kind of guy who made you nervous even when he was smiling. He wasn't smiling. I slid into the booth across from him. Your son's accident wasn't an accident, he said without preamble. I know. The security footage from that stairwell mysteriously malfunctioned right before Jake fell. Came back online right after. Very convenient. Can you prove it was deliberate? Not in court. But I pulled the employee records. Guess who was scheduled to be in that stairwell at that exact time? Trevor Marsh, head of security at Pemberton Financial, ex-cop, fired for excessive force. Richard Pemberton hired him 2 years ago. I felt my jaw tighten. So Pemberton ordered it? Probably. But here's the thing, I can't prove that either. Pemberton's smart. He doesn't leave evidence. Everything's verbal. Everything's deniable. He's been playing this game for 30 years. Then how do we beat him? Frank pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. By playing a different game. I looked at the screen. It was full of documents. Financial records, email chains, legal filings. What am I looking at? Richard Pemberton's empire. And it's not as solid as it looks. The man's a shark, but even sharks have soft spots. Let me walk you through it. He pulled the tablet back and started swiping through documents. Pemberton Financial Group manages about $2 billion in assets. Sounds impressive. But it's not one company. It's a dozen shell corporations all feeding into each other. Legal, but complicated. The kind of complexity that lets you hide things. What's he hiding? Conflicts of interest. See, his company offers financial advice to clients, but he also owns stakes in several of the investment vehicles he recommends. That's not illegal if you disclose it. But look at this. He showed me a series of emails. These are from his head of compliance. She keeps reminding him that disclosure requirements have changed, that he needs to update his client agreements. He keeps blowing her off. So he's not properly disclosing? Exactly. It's a technical violation. Won't put him in prison. But the SEC could fine him. More importantly, his clients could sue. And if they sue, discovery would expose all kinds of other questionable practices. Such as? Frank grinned. such as the fact that he's been recommending his clients invest in companies where his daughter has financial interests. Sometimes those investments do well, sometimes they don't. But either way, it's nepotism at best, self-dealing at worst. Jessica? The one and only. Turns out your daughter-in-law has been playing with daddy's client money like it's Monopoly cash. She has stakes in 4 different startups, all funded through independent investment recommendations from Pemberton Financial. None of it disclosed. I sat back. How did you find all this? I have friends at the SEC, people who owe me favors. They can't act officially without a formal complaint, but they can tell me where to look. So we file a complaint. We could, but that's slow. The SEC moves like a glacier, and Pemberton would lawyer up, drag it out for years. Your son would be stuck in that marriage the whole time, getting abused. Then what? Frank's smile got wider. We don't go to the SEC, we go to his clients. I don't follow. Pemberton's whole business is built on trust. Rich people trust him with their money. But rich people are paranoid. They hate being lied to. They hate finding out they've been played for suckers. So we tell them. Just tell them? We send anonymous packages, financial analysis, copies of the emails, proof of the conflicts of interest. We send it to his top 20 clients, the ones with the most money, and we let them connect the dots. They'll pull their investments. Not just that, they'll talk. Rich people gossip more than anyone. Within a week, every country club and yacht club in the city will be buzzing about how Richard Pemberton has been self-dealing. His reputation will be destroyed, and his business will collapse. I thought about it. That's not illegal? The information is all from public sources, Freedom of Information Act requests, court filings, leaked emails from whistleblowers. Everything I'm giving you is either public record or protected speech. We're just connecting the dots for people who are too busy to do it themselves. And Pemberton can't prove it was us. He'll suspect, but he can't prove it. And here's the beautiful part. Once his clients start pulling their money, he'll be too busy doing damage control to come after you. He'll be fighting for his company's survival. I looked at the tablet again. What else have you got? Frank leaned back. Oh, this is just the business side. You want to hear about the personal stuff? Yes. Richard Pemberton has been married 3 times. First wife left him when she found out he was sleeping with his secretary. Second wife left him when she found out he was sleeping with his client's wife. Third wife, Jessica's mother, left him 3 years ago when she found out he was sleeping with multiple women at the same time. Classy guy. Gets better. The 3rd divorce was sealed, part of the settlement. But I have a friend who worked on the case. She told me, off the record, that Mrs. Pemberton No. 3 had proof of affairs with at least 6 different women. Some of them clients, some of them employees, at least one of them married. Would be, if any of them filed complaints. But Pemberton paid them off. NDAs all around. Hush money. The man's been buying silence for decades. Can we break the NDAs? Not legally. But here's the thing. NDAs only work if people honor them. If someone decides the NDA is unenforceable, or if they're willing to risk the legal consequences, well, information gets out. You're saying we find someone willing to talk. I'm saying I already found 4 women willing to talk. They hate him. They're scared of him. But they hate him more. Give them anonymity and they'll burn him down. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger anymore. Something else. Purpose. How do we do this without breaking the law? We don't do anything, I do it. You just sit back and watch. I'll handle the SEC documents. I'll handle the client notifications. I'll handle the whistleblowers. All you have to do is make sure your son is ready for when this goes down. Ready how? Ready to divorce Jessica the moment her father's empire starts crumbling, because there's going to be a window, maybe a week, maybe 2, where the Pemberton family is too busy dealing with their own problems to retaliate. That's when Jake files for divorce. That's when he breaks free. What about the prenup? Frank smiled. Prenups can be challenged, especially if we can prove Jessica entered the marriage under false pretenses, that she intentionally misrepresented her family's intentions, that she committed fraud. Can we prove that? I have emails between Jessica and her father from before the wedding, emails where they discuss their plan for Jake, how they're going to control him, how he's going to be useful to their business interests. It's all right there in black and white. How did you get those? Frank just looked at me. Right. I don't want to know. Smart. I stared at the tablet, at all the information, at the roadmap for destroying Richard Pemberton. This will ruin him, I said. Yes. His business, his reputation, everything? Yes. Good. Frank nodded. I thought you'd say that. So here's the timeline. Tomorrow, I start sending packages to his clients. Day after tomorrow, I leak the affair information to the right gossip circles. Day 3, I file a whistleblower complaint with the SEC, anonymously, but backed up with hard evidence. Day 4, the financial media picks up the story. Day 5, his clients start pulling their money. Day 6, his company goes into crisis mode. That's fast. It has to be. The longer we wait, the more time Pemberton has to figure out what's happening and who's behind it. We hit him fast and hard from multiple directions at once, overwhelm his ability to respond. And Jake? Jake needs to be ready to file for divorce on day 7. I'll have a lawyer standing by, someone who specializes in these kinds of cases, someone who isn't afraid of the Pemberton family. What if they retaliate? They'll try, but they'll be too weak. Their money will be tied up in legal battles. Their reputation will be in the gutter. And if they try anything physical? Frank's eyes went hard. Let's just say I have insurance against that. What kind of insurance? The kind that makes them think twice about hurting people. I didn't ask for details. What do you need from me? I said. Nothing. Just stay away from Pemberton. Don't confront him. Don't contact Jake unless he reaches out first. Go to work. Live your normal life. Let me handle this. I can do that. Good. Because Morrison, once I start this, there's no stopping it. The dominoes will fall. All of them. And when the dust settles, Richard Pemberton is going to be a broken man. His empire gone. His reputation destroyed. Everything he built turned to ashes. Are you okay with that? I thought about my son scrubbing toilets, about the tears on his face, about the bruises from his accident. I'm okay with it. Frank stood up. Then we're done here. I'll be in touch in a week when it's all over. Until then, trust me. He walked out of the diner and disappeared into the night. I sat there for a minute, finishing my coffee, looking at the tablet full of information that would destroy a man's life. Then I drove home. Linda was still at Jake's apartment when I got back. I called her and she came home an hour later. How is he? I asked. Scared, in pain, trying to act brave. Where's Jessica? She came home around midnight, drunk. She made Jake fix her food, then passed out on the couch. I closed my eyes. He can't stay there. No, but he won't leave, not yet. He's too afraid. He'll leave in a week. Frank's handling everything. I told her the plan, all of it. When I finished, Linda was quiet for a long time. This will destroy them, she finally said. Yes. Good. We went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about Richard Pemberton, about his smug face, his cruelty, his arrogance. In a week, all of that would be gone. The next morning I went to work, sold some insurance policies, answered some emails, acted normal. But my phone was in my pocket the whole time, waiting for news from Frank. It came at 3 p.m. Packages delivered. 12 of 20 clients have already opened them. This is going to move fast. How fast? Faster than I thought. One of the clients is a federal judge. Another is a state senator. They're not happy. Good. Morrison? It's starting. Get ready. He hung up. I sat at my desk and waited for the world to change. It didn't take long. I left for the diner at 7, drove through the dark countryside, tried not to think about what Frank wanted to show me. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived, just a few truckers and a waitress who looked half asleep. Frank was in the same booth as before. He had his tablet out. I sat down across from him. "What's this about?" I asked. "This is about making sure they never do this again. They're already destroyed. What more is there?" Frank turned the tablet around. On the screen was a video file, paused on a frame showing Richard Pemberton in his office. "What am I looking at?" "Security footage from Pemberton's office, from this morning, after you left." "How did you—" "I have access to their security system. Have had it since day one. I've been watching everything." He pressed play. The video showed Pemberton and Jessica sitting in his office. Both of them looked devastated. They were talking, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. Then Pemberton stood up, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "They're having a drink," I said. "So what?" "Keep watching." On screen, Pemberton poured 2 glasses, handed one to Jessica. They toasted, drank. Then Pemberton started talking, animated, angry, pointing at the window at the city below. Jessica was nodding, crying, but nodding. Pemberton walked around the desk, put his hands on Jessica's shoulders, said something that made her look up at him. Then he pulled her to her feet and hugged her. "I still don't—" I started. "Listen," Frank said. He turned up the volume. Pemberton's voice came through tinny but clear from the security footage. "We'll make them pay. Both of them. Morrison and that worthless son of his. We'll make them regret this." Jessica's voice. "How? We have nothing left. We have money, hidden money, offshore accounts, funds the SEC doesn't know about. We can hire people. We can make them suffer." "Daddy, I don't know. You want revenge, don't you? After what they did to us? To you?" "Yes, but then trust me. I have connections, people who owe me favors, people who can make Morrison's life hell. We'll start with his business, then his family, then him." Frank paused the video. "He's threatening you," Frank said, "and your family, planning retaliation." "Is he serious?" "He sounds serious, and he does have hidden accounts. I found them. About $20 million scattered across 3 different countries. Money the SEC hasn't discovered yet. Money he could use to cause problems." "So what do we do?" Frank leaned back. "That's the question. We've already destroyed his reputation, his business, but he still has resources, still has connections, still has the ability to hurt you. Can we expose the hidden accounts?" "Eventually. But that takes time. And in the meantime, he might do something stupid, something dangerous." "What are you suggesting?" Frank was quiet for a long moment. "I'm suggesting we finish this, completely. Make sure he can never threaten you or your family again." "How?" "I have the account numbers, the access codes, everything. I could drain those accounts, transfer the money somewhere Pemberton can never reach it. Leave him truly broke, truly powerless. That's theft. It's justice." I stared at the tablet, at Pemberton's face frozen in rage on the screen. "Where would the money go?" "Wherever you want. We could donate it to charity, set up a trust for Jake, give it to Pemberton's victims, your call." "And Pemberton couldn't trace it?" "Not the way I'd do it. The money would disappear through so many shell corporations and offshore transfers that he'd never find it. By the time he even realized it was gone, it would be too late." "This is illegal, Frank." "Yes, but it's also the only way to make sure he never hurts anyone again. Your son, your wife, you, the next person he decides to destroy. This money is his last weapon. Without it, he's just a bitter old man with no power." I thought about Jake, about the bruises on his arm, the tears on his face, the humiliation in his eyes. I thought about Pemberton's voice on the video. "We'll make them pay." "How long would it take?" I asked. "I could have it done by tomorrow morning, all 20 million gone, scattered to the wind." And you're sure it can't be traced back to us? I'm sure. I looked at the tablet again, at Pemberton planning his revenge, planning to hurt my family. Do it, I said. Frank nodded. I'll start tonight. By morning, Richard Pemberton will be truly finished. Frank. Yeah? After this, we're done. No more favors. No more revenge. This ends here. This ends here, he agreed. I drove home and told Linda everything. He was planning to hurt us? She asked. That's what he said on the video. Then Frank's right. We have to finish this. Linda, this is theft. It's illegal. If we get caught, we won't get caught. And even if we did, do you really think I care? That man tried to destroy our son. Now he's threatening to come after us. I say, take everything he has left. I looked at my wife. 30 years of marriage, and she could still surprise me. All right, I said. It's done. Frank's handling it now. We went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about lines that shouldn't be crossed, about the difference between justice and revenge, about whether I was doing the right thing. By morning, I'd decided I didn't care. Frank called at 8 a.m. It's done. All the accounts are empty. The money is gone. Where did it go? Most of it went to a charity fund for victims of financial abuse. Some went to the women Pemberton harassed, anonymous payments they'll never be able to trace, and a small portion went into a trust for Jake, for when he's ready to start over. Thank you. Morrison, this is over now. Pemberton has nothing left. No money, no reputation, no power. He can't hurt you or anyone else. Whatever he was planning, he won't be able to execute it. What about the video, the threats? I sent a copy to the FBI. Anonymous tip. They'll investigate. Even if they can't prove anything criminal, it puts him on their radar. He'll be too scared to try anything. So we're done. We're done. How does it feel? I thought about it. Empty. Yeah, revenge usually does. But your son is safe. Your family is safe. That's what matters. He hung up. I sat there for a minute, staring at my phone. Then Jake came downstairs. He looked better, rested, almost peaceful. Morning, Dad. Morning. I've been thinking. I want to go back to school, get my MBA, do things right this time. That's a good idea. And I want to pay you back. For everything, the support, the help, all of it. You don't have to. I want to. It might take a while, but I'll pay you back. I smiled. Okay. He poured coffee and sat down across from me. Dad, what you did, I know it was for me, and I'm grateful. But are you okay? You seem different. I'm fine. You don't look fine. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He was going to be okay. He was going to rebuild. He was going to have the life he deserved. And that's what mattered. I'm processing, I said. Give me some time. Okay. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I love you, Dad. I love you too, kid. The rest of the week passed quietly. Jake met with his lawyer. The divorce proceedings moved forward. Jessica didn't contest anything. She just signed the papers and disappeared. I went back to work, sold insurance, answered emails, pretended everything was normal. But at night, I kept thinking about Richard Pemberton, about his face when I told him his empire was gone, about the video of him planning revenge, about the money disappearing from his accounts. I wondered if I'd done the right thing. I wondered if there was such a thing as the right thing in situations like this. Frank called me on Friday. You need to see something. What now? Just meet me. Same diner. Tonight. Frank, I told you we're done. This is the last thing, I promise. But you need to see this. I sighed. Fine. 8 o'clock. The diner was busier this time. Friday night crowd. Truckers and travelers and people who had nowhere else to be. Frank was in our usual booth. He looked tired. I sat down. What's this about? He slid his tablet across the table. On the screen was a news article. Prominent businessman Richard Pemberton hospitalized after apparent breakdown. I read the article. Pemberton had been found in his apartment by building security, incoherent, raving, talking about conspiracies and theft and revenge. They'd taken him to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. Is he okay? I asked. Physically? Yes. Mentally? Not so much. They're calling it a stress-induced psychotic break. He keeps insisting someone stole his money, that there's a conspiracy against him. The doctors think he's delusional. Is he? Frank looked at me. The money's gone, Morrison. There's no record it ever existed in those accounts. As far as anyone can prove, Richard Pemberton is imagining things. So he's going to be in a mental hospital? For a while. They'll medicate him, try to stabilize him. But his reputation is so destroyed that even when he gets out, no one will believe him. He'll just be the crazy guy who lost everything and couldn't handle it. I stared at the article, at Pemberton's face in the photo. He looked small, defeated, insane. I did this to him, I said. He did this to himself. We just accelerated the timeline. He's broken, Frank. He broke your son first. That doesn't make this right. Frank took the tablet back. Morrison, let me tell you something. I've been doing this kind of work for 30 years, taking down bad people, exposing corruption, fighting battles that can't be fought in courtrooms. And I've learned something. There is no right in these situations. There's just necessary. What we did was necessary. Your son is safe. Pemberton can't hurt anyone else. That's what matters. It doesn't feel like it matters. It will. Give it time. He stood up to leave. Frank, thank you. For everything. Don't thank me. Just make sure your son lives a good life. That's the only revenge that really means anything. Him being happy, successful, free. That's what will eat at Pemberton more than anything else we did. He walked out. I sat there for a long time, looking at the empty booth across from me. Then I drove home. The weekend was quiet. Jake spent most of it job hunting, sending out resumes, making calls. He was focused, determined, different than before. Sunday afternoon, he got an offer. Junior analyst position at a mid-sized firm. Good salary, good benefits. Nothing fancy, but honest work. He accepted on the spot. Monday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Morrison, this is Detective Sarah Reeves with the FBI. I'd like to ask you some questions about Richard Pemberton. My stomach dropped. What about him? He's made some serious allegations, claims someone sabotaged his business, stole money from him. He's mentioned your name. I'd like to talk to you about your relationship with him. Am I being accused of something? Not at this time, but we are investigating his claims. Would you be willing to come in for an interview? Do I need a lawyer? That's your right, but I'm just trying to establish facts at this point. I thought about it. Give me your number. I'll call you back. I hung up and immediately called Frank. The FBI just called me. I know. They called me too. What did you tell them? The truth. That I was hired to do research on Pemberton for a potential civil case. That I found evidence of financial misconduct and reported it through proper channels. That everything I did was legal. What about the money? What money? As far as anyone can prove, there was no money. Pemberton's records show those accounts never existed. He's delusional. Frank, Morrison, listen to me. The FBI is going through the motions because Pemberton filed a complaint. But they're not going to find anything. There's nothing to find. You did nothing illegal. I did nothing illegal. All we did was expose the truth about a corrupt businessman. That's not a crime. So I should talk to them? Yes, be honest. Tell them about your son, about the abuse, about how you hired me to investigate. Show them the contract Jake signed, the emails between Jessica and her father. Make them see that you were protecting your son from predators. And if they ask about the money, tell them you don't know anything about any money, because you don't. I never told you about the accounts, remember? As far as you knew, Pemberton lost everything when his clients pulled their investments. You're asking me to lie. I'm asking you to tell your version of the truth. The version where you're a father who protected his son. That's all they need to know. I met with Detective Reeves the next day. She was younger than I expected. Professional, sharp. We talked for 2 hours. I told her everything. About finding Jake in the bathroom, about the abuse, about hiring Frank to investigate. I showed her the contract, the emails, the evidence of Jessica and Richard's conspiracy. She listened carefully, took notes, asked clarifying questions. "And the money Mr. Pemberton claims was stolen?" she asked. "I don't know anything about that. Frank told me he found evidence of undisclosed conflicts of interest and reported them to the SEC. That's all I know." "Mr. Pemberton claims there were hidden offshore accounts worth $20 million. Do you know anything about that?" "No. Frank never mentioned any offshore accounts to me." She studied my face. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to be honest with you. We've been investigating Mr. Pemberton's claims for a week now. We can't find any evidence that these accounts ever existed. His own lawyers can't find records of them. His accountants don't know about them. Either he's lying, or he's delusional, or someone covered their tracks very, very well. I can't help you. I don't know anything about it." She closed her notebook. "I believe you. For what it's worth, everything you did, hiring an investigator, exposing corruption, protecting your son, that's all legal. Whatever happened to Richard Pemberton, he brought it on himself. Is he going to be okay?" "He's being treated. The doctors think he'll stabilize eventually. But his career is over, his reputation is destroyed. Even if he recovers mentally, he'll never be the same." I nodded. "Thank you for your time, Detective. Mr. Morrison, take care of your son. That's what matters." I left the FBI office feeling lighter, cleaner. Frank had been right. There was nothing to find because there was nothing to prove. Pemberton's accusations were just the ravings of a broken man. Over the next month, things settled into a new normal. Jake started his new job. He liked it. He was good at it. He made friends, started dating someone new, a woman from his office who made him laugh. Linda and I watched him come back to life, watched him become the person he was always meant to be. The divorce was finalized in March. Jessica signed everything without argument. She'd moved to California. Last I heard, she was working for some tech startup and keeping a low profile. Richard Pemberton stayed in the psychiatric hospital for 3 months. When he was released, he was a shell of his former self, medicated, quiet, broken. He moved to Florida to live with his sister. His company declared bankruptcy. The assets were sold off. The employees found new jobs. The building was bought by another firm and renamed. It was like Richard Pemberton had never existed. One night in April, I was sitting on the back porch when Jake came outside and joined me. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure. Do you ever regret it? What you did to Pemberton?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that the world has people like him in it. But I don't regret protecting you. He's destroyed now. Completely destroyed. Some people might say you went too far. Some people weren't watching their son cry while scrubbing toilets." Jake smiled. "Fair point." We sat in silence for a minute. "I'm happy now," Jake said. "Happier than I've been in a long time, maybe ever. Is that okay? Is it okay to be happy after everything that happened?" "That's all I wanted. For you to be happy. That's all any of this was about." "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, kid." He went back inside. I sat there for a while longer, looking at the stars. Frank called one last time in May. "I'm retiring," he said. "Moving to Montana, buying a cabin, going fishing, the whole cliché." "Good for you." "Morrison? What we did. I know it bothers you. I know you wonder if it was right. But I want you to know something. In my 30 years doing this work, I've taken down a lot of bad people. Corrupt politicians, corporate criminals, predators, and Richard Pemberton was one of the worst. He hurt people for sport. He destroyed lives because he could. What we did to him? That was justice, real justice, the kind that doesn't happen in courtrooms. I hope you're right. I am. Your son is living proof. He's free, he's happy, he's building a life. That's all that matters. Thanks, Frank, for everything. Anytime. Well, not anytime. I'm retired. But you know what I mean. He hung up. I never heard from him again. 6 months after it all ended, I thought the story was over. I was wrong. It was September. Jake had just gotten a promotion at work. Linda and I were planning a vacation. Life was good, normal, quiet. Then I got a phone call from an unknown number. Mr. Morrison, this is Elena Vasquez. I work for the State Attorney General's office. I need to speak with you about Richard Pemberton. We're investigating potential criminal charges related to his business practices. Your name has come up in our investigation. I'd like to meet with you. Am I in trouble? No, but you may have information that could help our case. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop downtown. Elena Vasquez was in her 40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She had a briefcase full of documents. Thank you for meeting with me, she said. I know this must be stressful. What's this about? We're building a case against Richard Pemberton for multiple counts of financial fraud, self-dealing, and breach of fiduciary duty. Based on our investigation, we believe he deliberately misled clients for personal gain over a period of 15 years. If convicted, he could face significant prison time. I thought he was in a mental hospital. He was released 6 months ago. He's been living in Florida, but that doesn't exempt him from prosecution. If anything, his mental breakdown makes our case stronger, suggests consciousness of guilt. What do you need from me? You hired an investigator named Frank Novak to research Pemberton. We'd like access to whatever information he provided you. I don't have anything. Frank gave me a verbal report and some documents that I turned over to my son's divorce lawyer. Everything else went to the SEC. Nothing else? Nothing. She studied me. Mr. Pemberton has made claims about stolen money, offshore accounts that disappeared. Do you know anything about that? No. The FBI already asked me about this. I don't know anything about it. The FBI closed their investigation due to lack of evidence, but we've been digging deeper. We found traces of transactions, digital footprints. Something happened to that money. I can't help you. Can't or won't. Can't. I don't know anything about it. She leaned back. Mr. Morrison, I want to be clear about something. We're not investigating you. We're investigating Pemberton. But if money was stolen from him, even illegally obtained money, that's still theft, and whoever did it could face charges. I understand, but I can't help you. I don't know anything about any money. She closed her briefcase. All right, but if you remember anything, please call me. This case is important. Pemberton hurt a lot of people. We want to make sure he faces justice. I thought he already faced justice. He lost everything. He lost his business and reputation, but he should face criminal consequences too. Otherwise, what's to stop the next Richard Pemberton from doing the same thing? I didn't have an answer for that. She left. I sat there for a long time, drinking cold coffee and thinking. Frank had covered his tracks. The money was gone, untraceable. But law enforcement was still looking, still digging. How long before they found something? I called Frank's old number. It was disconnected. I tried to find him online. Nothing. Frank Novak had disappeared as completely as the money. I went home and told Linda everything. Should we be worried? She asked. I don't know. The FBI cleared me, but the state is still investigating. They can't prove anything. They're trying. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about consequences, about justice versus revenge, about whether I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. The next morning, Jake called me. Dad, I got a weird call. Someone from the Attorney General's office asking about Jessica's dad. Did they call you too? Yeah. What did you tell them? The truth. That I hired an investigator, that he found evidence of fraud, that I don't know anything about stolen money. Is that the truth? I was quiet for a moment. Jake, there are some things you're better off not knowing. Trust me on this. Dad, I'm serious. Whatever happened, you weren't involved. You didn't know about it. Keep it that way. You're scaring me. Don't be scared, everything's fine. They're just doing due diligence. It'll blow over. If you say so. But I wasn't sure I believed it myself. The state's investigation continued for 3 months. Subpoenas were issued. Documents were reviewed. People were interviewed. I wasn't called again. Then, in December, the news broke. Richard Pemberton indicted on multiple fraud charges. The indictment was extensive: 15 counts of securities fraud, 8 counts of breach of fiduciary duty, multiple counts of self-dealing and misrepresentation. If convicted on all counts, he faced up to 40 years in prison. I read the news article 3 times. They'd built their case entirely on the legitimate evidence, the conflicts of interest, the undisclosed relationships, the misrepresentations to clients. No mention of stolen money, no mention of offshore accounts. They didn't need it. The case was solid without it. Frank had been right. The money didn't matter. Pemberton's own crimes were enough to destroy him. The trial was set for March. In February, Jake got engaged to Amy, the woman from his office. They were happy, really happy, the kind of happiness that makes you forget the bad times. "Will you walk me down the aisle?" Jake asked. "Of course. I know it's weird, since I was already married once, but this feels different, this feels real. Because it is real." We planned the wedding for May. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Everything Jessica's wedding wasn't. Simple, genuine, full of love. The week before Jake's wedding, Richard Pemberton's trial began. I didn't attend, didn't want to, but I followed the news coverage. The prosecution's case was devastating. Witness after witness testified about Pemberton's deception. Clients who'd lost money, employees who'd been harassed, women who'd been intimidated into silence. The defense tried to argue mental illness, diminished capacity, but the prosecution showed that Pemberton had been lucid and calculating for years. That his breakdown came only after he was exposed. On the 5th day of trial, Pemberton took the stand in his own defense. It was a disaster. He was rambling, paranoid. He insisted there was a conspiracy against him, that someone had stolen money from him, that he was the real victim. The jury didn't buy it. On the 7th day, they returned a verdict, guilty on all counts. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Jake's wedding was in 3 days. "Did you see the news?" Jake asked me. I saw it. "How do you feel?" "Relieved, vindicated, empty, all of it." "He's going to prison, Dad, for a long time." "Good." I looked at my son. "Jake, that man hurt you. He humiliated you. He trapped you. He had you assaulted, and those are just the things he did to you. He spent 30 years hurting people, destroying lives, taking advantage of anyone weaker than him. I don't know. I don't feel good about it." "You're not supposed to feel good about it. Justice isn't about feeling good. It's about accountability, consequences, making sure people can't hurt others without facing repercussions." "You sound like Frank." Maybe Frank was right. Jake's wedding was beautiful, small, intimate, perfect. He and Amy looked at each other like they were the only 2 people in the world. During the reception, Jake pulled me aside. "Thank you," he said, "for everything, for saving me, for fighting for me, for giving me a chance to have this." "You saved yourself, Jake. I just cleared the path. I wouldn't have made it without you." We hugged, father and son, both of us crying a little. "I'm proud of you," I said, "not because you survived what happened, but because you chose to build something better after it. I learned that from you." 2 weeks later, Richard Pemberton was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. With his age and health issues, it was effectively a life sentence. He was taken from the courtroom in handcuffs, looking small, defeated, broken. I watched the news coverage and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge high, no sense of victory, just a quiet certainty that it was finally over. Linda found me watching the sentencing on TV. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I can finally breathe." She sat down next to me. "Do you regret it? Any of it?" I thought about Jake in that bathroom, about the tears on his face, about the years of therapy he'd need to process the abuse, about the trust he'd have to rebuild. Then I thought about him at his wedding, smiling, laughing, free. "No," I said, "I don't regret it. I'd do it again." Even the parts that weren't legal? Even those parts. Because Jake is happy now. He's safe. He's building a life. That's all that matters. Linda nodded. "Good. Because I'd do it again too." We sat there together, watching the news coverage of Pemberton being led away in handcuffs. "It's really over," Linda said. "It's really over." But it wasn't over. Not completely. 3 months after Pemberton's sentencing, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name and address in neat handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Mr. Morrison, you don't know me, but I was one of the women Richard Pemberton harassed. One of the women he paid off to stay silent. I saw your name in the news coverage of his trial. I saw what your son went through. And I wanted you to know what you did, exposing him. It gave me courage. I'm filing a civil suit against him. So are 3 other women. We're going to make sure he pays for what he did. Not just to your son, to all of us. Thank you for being brave enough to fight back." Anonymous. I showed the letter to Linda. "More people are coming forward," she said, "because we went first. Because you protected your son. And in doing that, you made it safer for others to speak up." I thought about that. About unintended consequences. About how one act of protection had rippled outward. "Maybe that's what justice is," I said. "Not revenge, not punishment, just making it possible for victims to fight back." Over the next year, 7 civil suits were filed against Richard Pemberton, all from women he'd harassed, all claiming he'd used his power to silence them. One by one, they won. Pemberton had no money left to pay the judgments, but they didn't care. They wanted their stories told. They wanted public acknowledgement of what he'd done. They got it. Jake followed the cases closely. "Do you think they would have come forward if we hadn't exposed him first?" he asked one day. "Maybe. Maybe not. But we made it easier. So we did the right thing. We did a necessary thing. Whether it was right, I'm not sure that matters anymore." Life moved on. Jake and Amy bought a house, had a baby girl, named her Linda after her grandmother. I held my granddaughter and thought about the world she'd grow up in, about the lessons I'd learned, about the lines I'd crossed. Would I tell her someday? Would I explain what I'd done to protect her father? Maybe, when she was older, when she could understand. Or maybe some stories are better left untold. Frank sent me one final message 2 years after everything ended. It came through an encrypted email that self-destructed after I read it. "Morrison, I hope you're well. I hope your son is well. I hope you found peace with what we did. I'm writing to tell you that the last piece is complete. The money from Pemberton's hidden accounts, it's all been distributed. Most went to his victims, divided equally among the women he harassed and the clients he defrauded. Some went to charity. A small portion went into a trust for your granddaughter's education. Every person who deserved justice got it, including you. The accounts are closed. The trail is cold. No one will ever find proof of what happened. As far as the world is concerned, that money never existed. Sleep well, Morrison. You earned it. F. The email disappeared. I never heard from Frank again. I did sleep well that night, for the first time in 2 years. Linda asked me once if I felt guilty about what we'd done. Sometimes, I admitted, late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about Pemberton in prison, about how completely we destroyed him, about whether we went too far. And what do you conclude? That I'd do it again, every time, because the alternative was letting him hurt my son, and I couldn't do that. Then you have your answer. Jake came over for dinner one Sunday with Amy and little Linda. We ate and laughed and told stories, just a normal family evening. After dinner, Jake helped me clean up in the kitchen. Dad, I need to tell you something. I stopped washing dishes. What? I know what you did, not all of it, but enough. I know about Frank, about the money, about how completely you destroyed Pemberton. My heart stopped. How? I'm not stupid, Dad. I put the pieces together, the timing, the way everything fell apart so perfectly, the FBI investigation that went nowhere, the money that supposedly never existed. Jake, I'm not angry. I'm grateful. But I need to know, can you live with it? What you did? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I can live with it. Because you're alive. You're happy. You're free. That's worth whatever price I have to pay. But you shouldn't have had to pay it. I should have been stronger. Should have seen through Jessica's lies. Should have stood up to her father. Jake, listen to me. What happened to you wasn't your fault. Pemberton was a predator. He spent 30 years perfecting his technique. You never stood a chance. But you beat him. Because I'm older, more cynical, and because I had nothing to lose. You had everything to lose. That made you vulnerable. Do you think he'll ever get out of prison? No. He's 70 years old with multiple health problems. He'll die there. Good. We finished the dishes in silence. As Jake was leaving, he hugged me. I love you, Dad, and I'm proud of you. Not everyone would go as far as you did for their kid. Every parent should. But they don't. You did. After they left, Linda and I sat on the porch. He knows, I said. I figured he would eventually. He's smart. Does it change anything? No, what's done is done. We can't change it. We can only live with it. We sat there in the darkness, holding hands. Do you think there will be consequences? Linda asked. Someday, do you think the truth will come out? Maybe. Probably. Nothing stays hidden forever. And if it does, then we face it. Together. She squeezed my hand. Together. I thought about Richard Pemberton in prison, about Jessica somewhere in California, starting over, about Frank in Montana, fishing and pretending the past didn't exist, about justice and revenge and the thin line between them, about fathers and sons and the things we do for family, about whether any of it was worth it. And I decided it was. Not because I felt good about what I'd done, but because Jake was safe, because other victims had found their voice, because one predator had been stopped. That was enough. It had to be. 5 years after it all ended, I thought I was done looking over my shoulder. Then Jessica showed up at my office. I was filling out paperwork when my receptionist buzzed. Mr. Morrison, there's a Jessica Anderson here to see you. Anderson, her maiden name. She'd stopped using Pemberton. Send her in. She looked different, older, thinner. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. She wore jeans and a simple shirt. No designer labels, no expensive jewelry. Hello, Mr. Morrison. Jessica. She sat down across from my desk. I know you don't want to see me. I wouldn't want to see me either. But I need to talk to you. About? About what happened, about my father, about Jake, about all of it. I don't think there's anything to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes. I leaned back in my chair. Fine. 5 minutes. She took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize for what I did to Jake, for how I treated him, for the way my father treated him, all of it. Okay. I was raised to think that power and money were the most important things, that people were either useful or disposable. My father taught me that. He showed me that. And I believed it. Is there a point to this? The point is, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. What we did to Jake was cruel, unforgivable, and I've spent the last 5 years trying to understand why I thought it was okay. Have you figured it out? Some of it. Therapy helps. Turns out being raised by a narcissistic predator does a number on your worldview. I'm not interested in your excuses. They're not excuses. They're explanations. There's a difference. I studied her face. She looked sincere, broken, ashamed. Why are you really here, Jessica? Because I heard Jake had a daughter, your granddaughter, and I wanted you to know that I have no intention of ever contacting them, of being part of their lives. They deserve better than me. Yes, they do. But I also wanted you to know that what you did, destroying my father, exposing him, all of it, you were right to do it. He was a monster. He hurt so many people. Someone needed to stop him. The court stopped him. You stopped him first. You made it possible for everyone else to come forward, so thank you. I didn't know what to say to that. Jessica stood up. That's all I wanted to tell you. I won't bother you again. She turned to leave. Jessica? She stopped. Are you okay? Financially? Emotionally? I have enough to get by. The trust fund survived the scandal. I'm working. Nothing fancy, just administrative work. Seeing a therapist twice a week, trying to be a better person than I was raised to be. That's good. Is it? Sometimes I wonder if people like me can really change, or if we're just broken forever. I don't know. But trying is better than not trying. She smiled sadly. I hope Jake's happy. I hope he has the life he deserves. Tell him I'm sorry, if you ever think he's ready to hear it. I'll think about it. She left. I sat there for a long time, processing the conversation. Jessica, apologizing, taking responsibility, trying to change. Maybe people could surprise you. That night, I told Linda about the visit. Do you believe her? She asked. I think so. She seemed genuine. Should we tell Jake? Not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Life continued its steady rhythm. Jake's daughter grew, started kindergarten, started asking questions about the world. Grandpa, were you ever really mad at someone? She asked one day. Yes. What did you do? I made sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. How? That's a story for when you're older. That's what grown-ups always say. That's because it's true. She seemed to accept that. Jake's career flourished. He became a senior analyst, then a director, then a vice president. He was making good money, providing for his family, being the man he was always meant to be. None of this would have happened without you, he told me once. Yes, it would. You're talented, hard-working. You would have found your way. Maybe, but you gave me the chance to find it. I got a letter from Richard Pemberton in his 6th year of prison. It was short, bitter, rambling. I know it was you. You destroyed my life, took everything from me. I hope you rot in hell for what you did. I burned the letter and never responded. Linda asked me if I was worried about it. No, he's in prison. He can't hurt anyone. But he knows. Knowing isn't proving, and even if he could prove it, what would he do? He's already lost everything. Still, be careful. Always am. But I started paying more attention, checking my rearview mirror, varying my routines, just in case. Nothing happened. Pemberton died in prison 2 years later. Heart attack. He was 77. I saw the obituary in the newspaper. It was short, perfunctory. No mention of his crimes. Just, Richard Pemberton, businessman, died in federal custody. I felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, no guilt. Just a quiet acknowledgement that a chapter was finally, truly closed. Jake asked if we should go to the funeral. Why would we? I said. Closure? We got our closure 5 years ago when he went to prison. We don't owe him anything else. I guess you're right. But he went anyway. He told me later that only a handful of people attended. Jessica, a couple of distant relatives, some woman who'd been his nurse in prison. Jessica was crying, Jake said. Real tears. Despite everything, she still loved him. He was her father. Yeah, but he was also a monster. Both things can be true. Years passed. Jake's daughter grew into a smart, confident teenager. She wanted to be a lawyer, fight for justice. I wondered if she'd inherited that from me. One night when she was 16, she asked me about my life. "Grandpa, tell me about a time you had to make a hard choice." I thought about lying, about deflecting, about changing the subject. Instead, I told her the truth. Not all of it, but enough. I told her about Jake being abused, about the bathroom, about the decision to fight back. I didn't tell her about Frank or the money or the illegal parts, but I told her about standing up to power, about protecting family, about the cost of justice. She listened carefully. "Did you ever regret it?" she asked. "Sometimes, late at night, when I think about all the ways it could have gone wrong." "But you'd do it again?" "Every time." "Why?" "Because your father deserved to be protected. Because bullies need to face consequences. Because sometimes the right thing isn't the legal thing." She thought about that. "I want to be like you when I grow up." "No, you don't. You want to be better than me, smarter, more careful, less willing to break rules. But you got justice. I got revenge. Justice would have been Pemberton being prosecuted from the start. What I did was necessary, but it wasn't justice. What's the difference? Justice is clean, public, accountable. What I did was messy, private, desperate. It worked, but it cost something. What did it cost? Peace of mind, the ability to sleep without wondering if someone will figure out what I did, the certainty that I'm one of the good guys." She hugged me. "You're still one of the good guys, Grandpa." "I hope so, kid. I really hope so."